Welcome to Fargo Talks Fargo, an unofficial podcast on the FX television series. Fargo Talks Fargo is hosted by me, Bill, and my buddy Charpie. This season of Fargo Talks Fargo is sponsored by Fargo Brewing and their Wood Chipper IPA. Also, today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Tune in later to find out how you can get a free trial from Audible. And all that jazz. Speaking of jazz, Charpie, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
I tried to give you the jazz lead in, and then I killed it by asking how you were.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if that was going to be a coincidence or I was going to compliment you on the segue. So consider yourself complimented.
It was an off the cuff segue, to be honest with you. But yeah, I guess I'm going to start by saying, oh, it's good to be home. I'm happy to be back in Fargo.
Yeah, was it scary down there in South Dakota after all this drama?
It was. I didn't see anybody from the syndicate, but flying was a nightmare. It's way later at night than I think we've ever tried to record this show, so this is either going to go up really late tonight or tomorrow. So I apologize for any tardiness in getting this episode up, but we're here to talk about Fargo Season 2, Episode 4, Fear and Trembling. Yeah. So I brought up jazz.
You brought up jazz because the show kicks off with a little Count Basie jazz, which was kind of fun.
Yeah.
So we're back in the 50s, is that correct?
51, I think, is what it says, right? 51. Yeah, it's 51.
And we're getting a little Gerhardt history lesson, it looks like.
Mm-hmm. And it's I was talking to you about it's basically all this precursory stuff to the Korean War happening. Is what's on the radio in the background. And upon further listening and thinking, while I sat in the Minneapolis airport for 6 hours today, I realized that it's not just helping set the scene for when in time it is. I realized it was just the giant tip-off of war. War is coming to
war
a bunch of things.
War is the theme of the day. And with that said, we've got today's show laid out a little bit in that sense, where instead of going through the show, chronologically as the show plays out, which is what we usually do, gets kind of long. And now what we're doing this time is we're breaking out all the little wars that are happening, because it's not just one. I mean, there's some obvious ones, but we got a lot of stuff going on here, so I think we'll chunk it out that way.
Yeah, I mean, we're just trying something new. So if you dig it, let us know. If you don't dig us, let us know. If it doesn't make any difference and it's still fun, that's great too. I mean, and we don't necessarily have to stick to this. We just thought this was a good breakout. So who do we want to talk about first in your break it out strategy?
Well, let's save the war between the Gerhardts and Kansas City till later, because that's the obvious big one.
Okay. So what other battle fronts do you want to talk about?
So clearly the one that's, I think, tugging at most people's heartstrings a little bit is the war between Betsy and her body.
Yeah.
Betsy's war with cancer.
Yeah, and I think it was real clear. I mean, that was another thing, and that's where the doctor says it's a war against your body. That was the actual quote, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And man, it's just setting the tone of those scenes, though, and how Lou seems so clueless a little bit, and she's not in the dark, but she doesn't want him to be worried. I just like the guy being flanked by like basically lab rats, and he's got an ashtray and cigarettes on his desk. He obviously doesn't.
Of all scenes, I thought this one was the most Coen-esque to me, in terms of just its direction. You have that symmetry, that perfect symmetry, that sort of like Wes Anderson, Coen Brothers type symmetry, where the doctor's right in the middle. He's flanked by two lab rat cages. He's saying really inappropriate things, to be honest.
Yeah. His bedside manner is horseshit.
Yeah, Betsy's like, I feel like, we're at war, or she's like, we're at war with me, or something like that. And he's like, no, it's not war with you, it's war with your body.
It's just the fact that he's separate. He's not even thinking about the person inside of her.
Exactly, yeah. And so what we learn is that she's going to go on a clinical trial of a new drug called Xanadu. Or the trial is called Xanadu. We don't really know what the drug is, because it's kind of a code name for now.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting reference. I don't know. I mean, there's a few things out there on Xanadu, what that could be referring to. I mean, it was a 1980 movie, like a musical fantasy. So that it could, I don't think it's a reference to that, but in that movie, Xanadu is a reference to a city in China, the capital of Kublai Khan's Yuan dynasty, which was then moved to what is now Beijing. For a little trivia for you guys. And then Xanadu became the summer capital. So I don't know what that has to do with anything. Xanadu was visited by Marco Polo in 1275.
Yeah.
It was destroyed in 1369.
You went a little deep on this one, bro.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff on it. If the city inspired a poem called Kubla Khan, or A Vision in a Dream. So if you go read that, it is kind of interesting. The poem's rather nice. And you can read that, and there is a vague reference to war in the poem, although the poem is not about war. There is a reference to war, and there's a reference to sort of a wall that's surrounding this like palace or fortress or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then outside, it's just like a war. So I don't know. Go read it for yourself. We don't need to get too deep into it. But it is kind of interesting. It is a poem that references war. So there you have it.
Well, maybe the idea is that the treatment's a fantasy,
right? And that there's
the clinical trial, I should say, not the treatment. But
I think that's I think you're onto it there.
And I think sometimes even having this little rundown in this show of this, I know some people might be thinking that this isn't. Hey there, it's not important, but I think these scenes are important to understanding Lou and where his head is all the time. So,
well, Lou's that character that we basically talked about in the first episode with John Lamb, where he's that Midwestern guy who keeps kind of to himself, keeps his feelings to himself. Doesn't really ever know what to say. He just can't grasp the right thing to say. He's out of his element. He doesn't know how to treat Betsy, and I think Betsy.
Did you just say you're out of your element?
Yeah.
Donnie?
Yep. Thanks for catching that. Betsy is more comfortable with her cancer than Lou is. I think Betsy's kind of resolved to the fact that she's not going to be around for much longer, because she's specifically talking about things that Molly needs to know, and she's telling Lou these things, like Molly's going to need to know this, and she's going to need to know how to do this, and that's kind of going right over Lou's head a little bit.
Oh, totally. He's distracted from both his jobs, and I mean that's why she's like, you can't just feed her beef jerky on if you go fishing.
Yep. So it's like a Smartie.
Yeah. How do you know which one you're getting? Well, you don't.
Do you think she's getting the real drug?
No, I think the fact that
and even if she's getting the real drug, it doesn't mean she's saved. Otherwise there wouldn't be a trial.
Well, that, and if something had cured cancer, we would probably be talking about, oh wow, she must have been on one of the first treatments of X. But cancer's still a bitch, even in 2015. I think we should get back to the other big war that we started with in the episode with some jazz music in 1951.
Okay. So we're talking about the war between the Gerhardts versus Kansas City. And we get a little backstory with the Gerhardts. We learn essentially how Otto came out on top and how Dodd got him there. Dodd basically put the crown on Otto's head, on his father's head.
You think so?
I mean, it was clearly his father's idea. So this is really interesting to me, because this goes by really fast. Dodd, so we see Dodd, it's 1950s, he's a little kid. Him and his dad walk into a movie theater. Him and his dad, Otto Gerhardt, they walk into a movie theater. The movie playing is Moonbase Freedom, a fictional movie, another fictional, non-real Ronald Reagan movie.
Yes.
So they walk into this theater, and the brilliance, you can see Otto's brilliance in this scene, because he knows he's going to this movie theater to talk to whomever is in charge of the crime syndicate right now. So he goes to the movie theater, and he knows that the guy's henchmen are going to stop and frisk Otto. Like, Otto knows this. So right when he walks into the theater, the guys are like, hey, man, we got to check you. So they pat him down for weapons. And these guys, these two henchmen, they form this basically door, like a movie theater door. They form this door, they block Dodd, and they prevent him from going any further until they pat him. Well, Dodd is the key to the whole thing. Like, he's the literal key. He goes right through that door of men because they don't think anything of this little kid.
Yeah.
Yet he has a weapon on him. He's obviously got a big knife on him. But that's sort of Otto's brilliance, and it was a risk. He put the weapon on the kid. Kid goes right by the henchman, no, with not a worry. Like, nobody's thinking anything of it. Kid goes and sits behind the mob boss guy. Otto shows up with no weapons. They pat him down. He gets by. Plan goes perfectly.
Well, I think they think he's walked aimlessly into this trap like an idiot.
Sure. Because what we learn is that Otto's father was the former king of the castle and was murdered by this man that Otto was going to see. So clearly there's motivation for Otto to murder this man, and the henchmen know it, and so they're keeping a close eye on him, but they're not keeping a close eye on Dodd.
No. They don't know that the kid's already damaged.
So we don't really know. So what happens is, obviously you've seen it. If you haven't, spoiler alert, but Dodd ends up killing the guy in charge right now. He ends up dethroning this guy. So that creates the opening for Otto to take the throne. We don't really know who this guy was. I mean, the similarities between the two guys is the similarities between this guy that gets killed by Dodd and Otto are like weird.
Yes.
I don't know why that is that way, but I mean, everything's intentional in this show, so you want to think it's like a brother, but is it? I don't know. I mean, he wouldn't kill his father.
His name's Kellerman.
Okay.
But hey, just item of note, I read, I don't remember where because I read too many things, that was Michael Hogan. That was practical makeup on him.
And that was very impressive.
And it looked good.
I thought it looked really good. I knew it either had to be him or it had to be at least his voice, and they like put a stand-in or something because, yeah. I mean, he's got that unforgettable voice.
Yeah.
I think so because I'm a Battlestar Galactica fan. So like,
I mean, I had to like look at it again. I was like, dang, right. Jesus, was that him?
You don't want to think it's him, especially like, I mean, that's really impressive especially for a television show. You don't think it is actually him, but you know it's his voice. So I was like, did they get like a younger double and like dub his voice in or what?
Yeah,
because it's definitely, he has that way of talking, and you know it is because, I mean, I don't know, even his way of talking, the way his lips move.
Yeah, he has there's a meter to the way he speaks.
Yeah. So that was pretty good makeup.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought that was great.
So we got
go ahead. Where were you?
A confirmed body count of about 4, I'd say, in the movie theater.
Oh yeah, and I think they killed. I think there was a few people that they took out that probably didn't even need to get taken out.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, some of those people.
That's why I say confirmed. I mean, I saw 4 people drop. I don't know but there were definitely more gunshots.
It was still pretty cool.
So that's pretty interesting to get that little backstory for both Otto and Dodd, but mainly Dodd. So
it tells so much about why Dodd is what Dodd is.
And why he doesn't just want to sell off what, he's been a part of creating since he was 10 years old.
Oh, God. What a little...
And the things he's had to do. I mean, from then on, his life was different.
Yeah. I love the fact that they didn't, like, completely show it, that you just hear it.
Yeah. And he's hidden right behind that guy's head. It is pretty interesting too how the young Dodd isn't disturbed by it in any way, as if he's done it 1,000 times.
No, And the guy was even like, you really made a mistake bringing your kid here. And in his mind, he's got to have been like, you don't know my kid.
He has like a smirk on his face after he
turns
stabs
out my kid is Dexter.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's so much stuff going on with that scene that was like disturbing, but at the same time revelatory. Is that the word I'm looking for? Like revelatory. It revealed a lot about who Dodd is, and you're talking about it. He's been there. I mean, yeah, it speaks pretty seriously to the partnership he created with his father.
Exactly.
Doing dirty work. Kill the king, be the king. Yep. I think this, I'm going to segue this just a little bit into, so, we crashed this directly right up against Charlie riding in the car with Dodd. And I think that speaks quite highly to the fact that Dodd feels like, yeah, this is how you do this. You just get your feet wet. You just do it. You can't plan for this kind of stuff. You either got it and you're in it or you don't. You don't want to go off and get that book learning and become a lawyer. And Charlie, obviously, he thinks it's interesting. He wants to do it. He thinks it's badass.
I think he probably gets a sense of what's the word I'm looking for? It gives him a feeling of power, and being that he has cerebral palsy, he probably gets a little bit of bullying going on in school. He probably already feels like an outcast. He's a handicapped person, and I think being in a tough crime family and learning how to start to run some things and put some people in their place gives him this empowerment that he's probably been wanting his whole life. Right. Yeah, so we learn from that, like he's been practicing with the gun. He can figure out how to reload. He's no dummy. Mm-hmm. He's not handicapped. He's proving this to Dodd because he wants to be a part of something bigger, while his father, Bear, is pulling him in the other direction, trying to get him out of the family. Not out of the family, but out of the lifestyle.
Out of the family business.
Yeah. And so you had a little quick catch in that conversation right away. Yeah. It was right away in the conversation. So if you missed it, I thought this was pretty interesting.
So yeah, the thing that I caught that I was like, holy crap, did he just say that? I had to go back and replay it again. And Dodd calls Hanzee half-breed. And so what I told Charpie right before we started recording this was, I was like, holy shit, he just called him Jon Snow, basically. I think. I mean, so I don't know what that means. I'm not sure. And I don't know if we'll ever know, or if there's something else to it, but he seems to be a major part of their family business. And like I had mentioned before, in the background of a scene, there was an Indian chief in a black and white photograph. So I think their family has been closely tied to that. And so maybe I'm not necessarily saying that I think it's Otto's kid. I'm just saying there's something to that. I don't think that was an accidental thing. I'd love to know more. So, half-breed. Go back, watch it. It happened. Yeah. And I didn't see or anything about that in my endeavors online this week. If somebody else did, please send us a link at Fargo Talks Fargo on Twitter or on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Fargo Talks Fargo.
Hello.
Boom.
So the negotiations are escalating between the Gerhardts and Kansas City. We have the families, or not the families, but the two sides meeting at the Pearl Hotel.
Yeah, I thought it was very Wire. The Wire. Have you ever seen that in The Wire? Yeah. It wasn't in the basement on The Wire, but I was like, oh, it's the co-op.
We've got some pretty tense talks. I mean, they're friendly. They are very businesslike. So I guess previous to that, I guess I should jump back a little bit, go a little bit more chronologically.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing too, because so the war is coming, but we're also finding out that there's people playing against the family.
Yes.
So simultaneously, Charlie is wanting to be in the family business and do these things. And as we skip around and just talk however we really want about this show, Simone is unraveling the family by I mean, what is it she said?
Sleeping with the other side.
Well, not just that. I mean, and don't get me wrong. I was very amused by the finger / turns out it's my thumb in your butt thing. But she basically said, you're going to have to kill him. My dad. Kill my dad. Just kill my dad. You know, cocaine. It's a hell of a drug, right? And I think she's done with the family because I think she looks at it as no one in that family looks out for her. Her dad's obviously a piece of shit to her, and she doesn't get the respect she feels she deserves. So she's going to go do the things she wants to do, even though she's a little, flower child. Mike puts her in her place for that. But yeah, so Dodd's cuddling up. Not cuddling, sorry, poor turn of phrase there.
Simone
is cuddling up to Mike, unraveling the family. Dodd is extending a hand to Charlie, especially when he goes and he's like, oh, punch him, hit him. What did he say? He's like about hitting him in the kisser, something like that.
Kiss him,
yeah.
Dodd and Charlie go into this donut shop specifically to pick a fight with Kansas City, these Kansas City henchmen. So now, do you think
he did?
Yes.
I think he was just taking the kid for a donut, and that shit happened. Because when he pulls up, he's like,
you don't walk into a donut shop with a cattle prod.
No, he pulled up, and the Kansas City, the Missouri license plate was outside.
Okay.
I think he might have been just hanging out with the kid.
Maybe, but...
Well, whatever.
But listen,
keep going.
I mean, think about this. Do you think he could have... Maybe he's not that smart, but do you think he could have gone there to do that, to purposely sabotage negotiations? He wants war so bad. He does not want a deal with Kansas City in any way. So do you think that he purposely went and roughed them up specifically to throw off the negotiations and have them be like, and have Kansas City say, okay, deal's off, it's war, and ultimately give Dodd what he wanted in the first place?
Very well. Could be.
Or they were just getting donuts.
I don't know. I like to think about that.
It
makes me happy thinking about just getting a donut.
I didn't even know what an old-fashioned donut was. You claim it is your favorite donut.
It is my favorite donut. Anyone who's got a donut with me downtown in Fargo knows that I'm into the old-fashioned. I mean, and I just sent you a link to a recipe for it. An old-fashioned is what a lot of people call it, but it's also an old-fashioned sour cream donut. It's a super cakey donut, but it's really...
Thank you for sending me a recipe.
I wanted you to see the picture so you would understand what it's like. And they have this very, very distinct shape and these ridges around them.
I'll admit, I don't know anything about donuts. I've never been a donut fan.
Yeah, but you're not like a big sweets guy, are you?
No.
Yeah,
not at all.
That's part of the problem.
Yeah.
See, and I'm like just fat. I'll totally eat that. No, I mean, growing up, that was we go to the donut hole after church.
You're fat. Well,
no, I'm serious. I go to the donut hole after church, and my dad was a big fan of the old fashioned, donut. So, boom, little Bill here is.
I kind of want that now.
Oh God, it is a delicious donut, and it goes so well with coffee. I just thought it was funny that Dodd was like, "Oh, what, old fashioned?" I was more surprised that
his reaction
he seemed
great.
shocked by his choice. Like, really? You're going to go with the old-fashioned?
It was almost slightly out of character, but in a good way.
Yes.
You could tell, I mean, he had this weird smirk on his face that I felt like he was about to break character and, start laughing. Like, as if that wasn't even part of the script, and Charlie was just like, an old-fashioned.
Yeah. You thought they were riffing it? I doubt it.
I don't know. They could be.
I don't think Noah lets people riff. Maybe he does. Yeah, well, we've totally blown your lump this stuff together thing out of the water now. We're all over the map.
Well, this part does kind of go. I mean, this is good.
Sure. Yeah, well, it's just that we'd kind of skipped way up to the negotiating that happened.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at in this a little bit, right? We do see some things unraveling. So Mike Milligan learned from Simone that Otto's going into the hospital to fix his drooling problem. So Mike Milligan, because you always have to say both of his names because it's fun. Like Milos, Stavros, Milos.
Ooh,
Mike Milligan is using, obviously, Simone for ass and information.
Yeah.
Ass and info.
We got to see quite a bit of butt this episode.
Yeah, we've seen a couple man cracks in this episode.
Well, we saw Ed's because we skipped over that part. We didn't. Oh, geez, it's happening.
Well, we'll get there.
I know.
We've seen Ed's crack and we've seen Otto's crack.
And Simone's.
And Simone's crack.
I'm going to go with Simone for best ass on the show so far.
All right.
It's just my answer. Sorry. It is what it is.
Simone gets best ass prize.
Yeah. Winner.
Hot dish dinner.
So where do you want to take this from here?
Okay, so we start to see some things unraveling because so Mike Milligan catches that Otto's going to the hospital. So this is their chance to send a message. And if you notice back in the donut shop, the first thing those Kansas City guys said was Joe Bulu says hi. Or Joe Bulu says hello. Or something like that. Now we know that Mike Milligan is got a little plot forming in his head where we can figure out how to send a message to the Gerhardts. And this is happening simultaneously with some negotiations that are going down at that Pearl Hotel.
What were they doing at the donut shop? Now you got me thinking. Why were they at the donut shop? Kansas City and Mike Milligan seem to be a step ahead of them, a little bit. Same with Hanzee, ahead of the Gerhardts. So if that's the case, why are they hanging out at the donut shop? Do you think they know that he regularly goes there? Or was he making his rounds? I don't know. I'm derailing. Sorry, man.
I don't know either. I'm watching it right now. Looks like they're just...
Well, I mean, I know they're just sitting there. And maybe they're just doing the same thing. Just want to have a donut.
Maybe people just want to have a donut. There can't be that many places to go in.
Donuts are delicious. That's it. There's nothing more to say.
It's donut or meat. And you know me, I'd be at the meat shop. I'd be getting meat fat on.
Maybe they know the meat's been tasting a little funny lately because it's made out of soy.
Everything
rye.
Tastes like pork.
I think it tastes like ground up Kieran Culkin.
So we're talking about this war. We're in negotiations. We've got Floyd flanked by the Gerhardt bros. We've got Joe Bulo flanked by the henchmen that were just assaulted, which is great symmetry again. They're both like you got the two heads of the table, and they're both flanked right and left with their people. And Floyd basically says, we don't have a deal per se, but I have a counter offer. Let's work together. This doesn't go over too well.
Like a fart in church.
Because although Joe Bulo does that classic like salesman-y maneuver where he's like, it's not up to me. I'm with you. I'm on your side. That sounds like a great idea. I'm totally with you, but it's not up to me. But really it is, because he is making the decisions.
Right.
I mean, there might be other high powers that we don't know about or don't necessarily need to know about, but I mean, he is making these decisions. He's like, it's not up to me, but... And he explains to Floyd, your boy screwed some shit up.
Oh, big time.
This is why I think that was Dodd's plan the whole time.
Was to mess with stuff?
Yeah, to throw off the negotiations.
Yeah, maybe.
Because now he opened the discussion to, Floyd, it's not necessarily that you're a woman, but this is a family business, and if your people get out of line, you're not going to discipline them. My people get out of line, I cut out their tongues.
Right.
If your people get out of line, you're just going to let it slide.
You're going to help him change his diaper when he shit the bed.
And this is when she says, they will abide.
The dude abides.
Obviously a Big Lebowski reference.
Yeah. I really did I thought, for me, the scene down there with her doing that and giving her chat, there was a lot of great things. Every week I feel like I'm going to say, this was my favorite episode so far this season, and this one was for me, because I think it set a lot of things in motion. It showed us a lot of stuff, but that scene with Gene Smart, my note was, Gene Smart as Floyd is the boss. And I don't literally mean she's in charge of the Gerhardts. I mean, like, man, that she's boss.
You mean like boss?
Yeah, like a boss.
Boss.
I thought she was awesome. I just love, awesome. Like, her unwavering, thing. Just like the way she said it when she just said, you might just think I'm some old lady. What did she say? I'm 51?
61.
61.
Is that a reference to Roger Maris?
No. But there is a 6 in there. She did have 6 children. Still stuck on that. But no, I love that. I love what she did there, and I love how the scene played out. I love the symmetry of how it was shot. It was how I looked at it when they shot from that one wide angle was like, it's like a broken up Last Supper.
Yeah, it is kind of.
In a weird way.
And everything's like super yellowy, which is something we're not really used to seeing yet.
Yeah.
Because everything's kind of been the same tones for a while now. And once we go into this like this demilitarized zone, the DZ.
The DMZ.
At the Pearl Hotel. Yeah, the DMZ. Everything's kind of this weird color that we're not really used to being surrounded by.
Yeah.
So it's like this neutral zone. And talks are fairly professional. These are businesses.
Well, I mean, just the fact that they all pulled up in their cars, like they came to the local gangster convention to share ideas and goodwill.
Get some deals on the table.
The only thing missing was like shitty name tags, like "Hello, my name is
Joe
Floyd.
Bulo."
Nice to meet you, Joe Bulo.
Joe Bulo says hello.
I like knowing what I felt like I was knowing the second time watching when Joe Bulo is talking though. Like he knows what they've already set in motion. Oh, and Mike's back in Kansas City attending to some other urgent business. Nope. Total bullshit.
No, he's out with your husband.
He's out there trying to see if he can fix your husband's drooling problem in his own way.
And yeah, that was interesting. I believe you said it in the hot dish where so Mike Milligan formulates his plan, goes to the hospital, takes out 2 of Otto's henchmen. Eye for an eye, you might say. Although he went a little bit further.
Well, a little more. He shot the lady too.
He did shoot the lady too, and he did have a really sweet gunsling and holster contraption. And then I believe you referenced in the hot dish where Mike Milligan takes Otto's hat off, puts it on his lap, as if he's saying, "You know what? You're not the king anymore." He's dethroned Otto. Otto's reign is over.
A little bit. I mean, it's you're going back to somebody hat in hand.
Yep.
Because I mean, Mike knows what's going on. Hey, can we come back real quick to just thinking about Mike Milligan in the kitchens? Wow, creepy that they were just sitting out there listening to Mike get his action on with Simone, and second that they were sitting out there and that they weren't interacting with each other. They were both playing their own game of solitaire.
Yes. There's 2 people playing cards by themselves.
But they're twins, but yet they're disconnected. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's not that they're disconnected, it's that they're always a mirror of the other. Remember when I was like, look, he's using the gun with his right hand this way, he's using his thing. Mm-hmm. So literally sitting across the room, they're even still mirroring each other because it's almost as if in some ways their characters are incapable of like completely interacting with each other outside of like left brain, right brain, maybe doing some thinking and stuff like that. But yeah.
There's only one kitchen.
Yeah. So Dodd blew this up. Everything's crap. They got some heavy thinking to do.
Yep. And we kind of, we sort of start to wind down that arc with Dodd crying on his mama's shoulder.
Yep.
And mama basically realizing like, she's in that car and she's thinking like, I gotta do what I gotta do now. This is gonna mean war. And she spends the night with her friggin' frozen ass husband. And that was a little bit of a cold scene, but I mean, at the same time, she's communicating with him probably while they're laying there, even though he can't communicate. And she's basically telling him, Otto, that this is going to happen without saying it in words. And essentially, I think she knows, especially in that car ride, she knows that Dodd kind of fucked this up. Well, that's obvious. But she also knows that it's probably going to come back to get Dodd, and it's not going to end well for him.
Well, I mean, the thing to think about, too, just about, you're talking about the weirdness of that scene or whatever, but he actually first tries to put her hand on him, but then she eventually, acquiesces, and she gives him a little rub behind the ear. But so it turns out everybody needs somebody, and everybody needs him. So if you think about it, though, you're talking about her laying with her husband. So cut to X scenes later, she's spooning up against somebody she needs and she can't have right now. I think she's been always playing a big role in the back of this, but I think right now she's operating at half power because the other half of it is Otto, and she doesn't have Otto right now because he's got the spit. And what's really interesting, and the AV Club brought this up, I think it's worth mentioning. They do great reviews all the time. Essentially, everybody in this universe has a vulnerability. Nobody seems invincible. Everybody has a pretty clear weak point in this season, in this universe. In the last season, although the same universe, in the last season there wasn't that so much. Like, Lorne Malvo was essentially the devil, and he seemed just so conniving and unstoppable. He didn't necessarily seem to have a lot, like a profound weakness, where in this season everybody's got it. Lou has, Lou's weakness is Betsy. Like, he cares so much about her. In this, it's Floyd's weakness is probably the love for her family and her husband, especially. There's just that going all around. Even Mike Milligan, like this friggin' Rico Suave guy who's just a smooth talking criminal, he does have a weakness now because he's in bed with the Gerhardts. Like, that could backfire on him. I don't think it will, but I think that's just strategy. I think his only weakness is for getting a thumb in the butt.
There you go. Well, there could be an 8-ball on the end of that thumb, and he could be laid out for a while.
Yeah, good point.
I mean, he's literally in bed with a Gerhardt. If the Gerhardts wanted to play that to their, and she was willing, they'd have.
Yeah, I don't think Simone's capable of that.
Well, no. But it could be twisted into a striking point.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll see that. I'm not predicting that. I don't think that will happen. But I do think everybody has a weakness. What the AV Club said is that no one seems above the world they live in. Every hero and villain is trapped in some way by their own perspective. That's how they put it, which is a much more eloquent way of saying it. Check it out.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm going to use this time to take a quick break so we can thank one of our sponsors. And we have a thing set up with Audible this year. And if you don't know who Audible is a audio book company. You can download their apps, you can listen online, you can do all these things, and they have a trial membership. So if you're interested in this right now, go to audibletrial.com/Fargo Talks Fargo. And when you sign up there, you will get a free book with your 30-day free trial. And it's yours to keep, even if you don't continue after that. The thing is that they advertise so much with podcasts, and it resonates so much with me in particular because I really think it is awesome. I mean, this is why I like podcasts. This is why I'm making a podcast, is that I enjoy listening to the spoken word. And there are times where I really do think Audible brings books to life like no one else really does. And sometimes I actually prefer it to reading. And I've read books and then gone and got the Audible version and like done it as a re-listen later. And there are times where I prefer it. So I think you should go check it out. Go to audibletrial.com/Fargo Talks Fargo and get something. So I'm going to make a pick this week of something you should go check out. So we've already done Anthony Bourdain, Kitchen Confidential. Did we do Ready Player One?
Yep.
Yeah. Did we do The Martian?
Yep.
All right, I'm going to stick with future dystopian, holy cow, what's going on? And I'm going to go with Hugh Howey's Wool.
Okay.
That's WOOL, Wool. And that's Silo #1 and Wool 1 through 5. It was like a group of books that have all been combined into a thing. So this is 17 hours, 43 minutes. It's a doozy, but it's all about what happens after they don't get super deep into what really happened, but it's about a community of people. Like, people can't live on the surface of the earth anymore right now. And so they live in these giant underground silos that go hundreds of stories deep. And the societies there are regulated in such serious ways, but there's some stuff going on, and some things happen, and I think you should just go check it out. I don't want to say too much more. I'm worried I'm going to spoiler something for it, but it all deals with the rules in the society and how information is dealt with, and people have very specific jobs in these silos, and it's pretty awesome. I really, really enjoyed it, and if you do like it, there are 3 in this huge series that are all like 17 hours long.
They're all that long?
I think the other one is, because there's also Shift, which is the other one. Shift is 18 hours. Let me see. Dust is 12 hours. So yeah, I mean, if you get through the entire Hugh Howey series of that, basically, you're going 17 or 18 and 12 is 30, so 47 hours a book. It's awesome, and you'd be surprised how fast it can go by. But you go check those out. It'll be in the show notes if you don't remember, or in the notes in your podcast app. So, sorry, coming back to the podcast. So that's
I just downloaded it.
But we're doing bad stuff lately with this. I recommend something, you buy it. So let's get back to Fargo here, so we can continue our breakdown. I mean, so I already brought up that Ed was like, "Oh, geez, it's happening," because they're having their little sexy morning session pre-work. By the way, way to go, Peggy and Ed. Get some before breakfast, basically.
Well, they got to start that family.
Yeah, got to get that going. Get a little whippersnappers running around that house. Shop,
and we'll get the kids. Got to have 2 and in the house, and probably a dog. Yeah, so Ed versus Peg. That is another war that we got going on. So
he just doesn't know it's a war yet. Right. Or he doesn't know he's in a battle. If he isn't in a full-blown battle, I think he's going to be.
This is so interesting how we have all these separate stories going on surrounding essentially, this inevitable war between families. Like, Ed and Peg did not have to be a part of this at all. They could have done the happy, like, classic American life, but I think they were doomed from the start. We don't know. We don't know how they even got to where they were. I mean, how did he fall in love with this woman? I don't know. But she was his knight. Abilities.
He was her knight.
Her conniving abilities, or her sort of devilish undermining, is really coming through in this episode. I mean, we start off a scene with them boning, right? And he's got some very quirky remarks during that little scene, and he's really trying to have a kid, Meanwhile, he doesn't realize that she's taking birth control behind his back.
Not cool.
Not cool, Peg. So he's still clinging on to this American dream life, owning the butcher shop, having 2 kids. I mean, he's going on about it throughout this whole scene, where she is clearly only thinking about herself, and he's going on about owning a shop, having 2 kids, having a house, getting a dog. I mean, he's talking about eventually he's getting a dog even. Like, he's completely blocking everything out that doesn't exist around that dream.
But I think the thing you're missing there about her being conniving about it is that he doesn't get her, though. He's not up on it. I mean, when she talks to him about her thing, he basically, he calls it a knitting class, or it's not, he wants things so traditional. He wants her to stay home and rule the house and not be so free thinking and just take care of the kids and feed the dog, hun.
Speaking of silo, it's like they are two silos. They are just completely separate from each other, going in their own direction.
The only problem is that Peggy knows it and Ed doesn't. And that's why he's like, well, we can get this all this whole mess behind us. And today is the first day of the rest of our lives and all that jazz. Mm-hmm. He doesn't get it, though. That's the problem, is that he doesn't get it. So, and for whatever reason, and I don't know where Peggy's going to take this, but she's these classes and some of the things she's thinking about it's all about, I think she wants to escape it. Even though I thought for a minute last week that she had some love, and I think she does have love, and she has a lot of appreciation for who Ed is, but it's she's going to move on.
She's going to move on for sure.
Or she's moving on. He just hasn't noticed.
Well, and they just have a communication problem, because we learn that Ed writes a check to the butcher shop to start paying for the business, take over the butcher shop. Check bounces. So we learn that, even though they claim to talked about it, well, we talked about this. Well, if you mean you talked and then I talked, then I guess, yeah, we talked about it.
Right.
But I don't think they were hearing each other, or they weren't listening to each other. They were, at the very least, just hearing each other. And they never got to a probably, a solid ground. He kept talking about the butcher shop. She kept talking about LifeSpring. They're only hearing what's in their silo. She went off and wrote a check to LifeSpring. Check bounces. Opportunity to buy the butcher shop is fading away quickly.
Well, she just pulled a Dodd.
She did. She sabotaged it.
Yeah. But I still think, I mean, you're right, but I still think that part of that is that she's talking, but he's not really listening. He wants the Americana dream. We live here. We have kids. You squirt them out. I grind the meat. I bring home the checks, and that I don't think he has. I don't think that's the problem. Is it's not that she wrote the check and she was going to tell him. She knew he wouldn't let her. Like he seems like a nice guy, but deep down he's my strange feeling behind him. He's a little thick, and he's like, oh honey, why don't you just get cash from me next time? You shouldn't be writing checks anyway.
And it's somewhat of a sign of that era too,
One, I think I think he's still living in 1940.
Right. But he might still have a little bit of that. Things don't change as quickly in the Midwest.
Yeah. Either way, just the knitting class thing, it struck me quite a bit.
And in this little war we have culminating with Ed and Peg, we have Denise. Is that her name?
No, it's
boss lady?
Constance.
Why do we keep saying Denise?
I don't know why I always want to call her Denise, because I called her Denise once, and that's all I keep thinking
now
about.
That's all we can think of. So, Constance. Yeah. That's even better.
Yeah. Because she's a constant bug in Peggy's ear.
That's exactly what I mean. So
to just get out of what she's in, because I think she has her own designs. But I think that's the thing for everybody, though. You know what I mean? All the way down to the small characters like Constance. Dodd wants to take over the family thing. Everybody wants something, and I think Constance wants Peggy. She wants to go all across the world and have their little gal pal thing. I don't know if it's rooted in anything sexual or if it's just having a little bit of a hive mind between some people, but yeah, Constance.
So yeah, she keeps putting this bug in her ear. She's adding kindle to that fire.
Oh yeah.
Where do we end up then? Basically just
keep an eye on that. I mean, and keep an eye on the fact too that Ed's the one who's really put himself out there. He killed Rye.
Yes. I want you to go through this rundown.
Peggy didn't.
At some point, you think that Peggy might...
I think if Peggy needs an out...
throw Ed under the bus.
She'll throw him under the bus. Well, I hit him, and I wanted to do something, but then he stabbed him right there in the garage, and then...
Yeah, she didn't kill him. She kept him safe in the garage.
Safe in the garage. Well, I brought him home and gave him shelter.
Yes.
Poor Rye.
And it was Ed who killed him. He stabbed him, and Ed ground him up.
I mean, she's an accomplice to some of those things. It's not like he did it completely, but deep down, he's the one who did that. And then even, oh man, we don't even have a whole section here. We are all over the map on this. Though that scene with Lou at the house later, where he's like, you think it's Tuesday and you don't know what's coming.
Yes.
So
this is part of this whole saga here.
Well, do tell.
So I guess the climax to this, or we're getting to the climax of this
chunk of these worlds living in the worlds. Betty versus cancer that sets up some stuff about Lou. The Gerhardts versus Kansas City, which is obviously this giant central theme of what's going to be a big violence driver, and Ed and Peggy, who are in the middle of this, unbeknownst to themselves right now, what kind of danger they've got themselves in that they just don't know. And this is where Lou talks about, the young kids have that look on their face when they've been shot, right?
So a guy gets his leg blown off or something.
Yeah, that's what it is. Sorry. But they're like, oh yeah.
Another war
story.
Just
hasn't set in. He's seen it. We know he's seen some stuff.
Yeah.
But that scene too is he's throwing Ed a line. Because that's the kind of guy he is.
He's saying, I can get you. You have this look on your face that's in war. You are in a war right now. And you have the look on your face that you have no idea. Your brain has not caught up with what's in store for you. And we're all just sitting here lying, telling you, hey, it's going to be okay. Things are going to be good, even though the outside witnesses know for a fact it's not going to be okay. And he's trying to tell the Blomquists that I'm telling you right now it's not going to be okay. You don't have any idea what's in store for you right now, but I'm throwing you this life preserver over here. I can get you out of this, and it might get a little messy. Maybe some people will get in trouble, but it's gonna be. It's not gonna be as bad as it could be.
There's bad people looking for you right now.
Right now, people that literally kill people for a living.
I think Ed considered it for a minute, but for the second time, basically, Peggy does what she thinks she needs to get done. Right. So just like she wrote the check, she just cuts in. Ed toes the line, and that's where
he's just continuing to have to push that boulder.
And why is that scene so tense? And that scene's tense about that because of Hanzee, and we know what Hanzee's been up to. So I feel like let's talk about the segment you're calling Hanzee on the Hunt.
Yes. So Hanzee,
what's the half-breed thing, right?
Right.
With that was my early question: is what's the half-breed thing?
Is Hanzee a Gerhardt?
You and I both felt it was just borderline racist.
I think a lot of people will think that, and people have been mentioning that on Twitter as well. It's like you have the Indian tracker. Like, come on.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is not the only place where we have some fairly racist things going on. I mean, the way that the word gook is thrown around just so casually. I mean,
yeah, but it
is the 70s, so I mean, we are coming out of Vietnam, but I mean, they don't even attempt to skirt around things like that.
They threw the term around also when talking about in the movie theater when talking about Korea.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So Hanzee is putting his Indian tracking skills into use, I guess. Well, he shows up at the diner first. Hanzee knows something's up. Hanzee's been thinking. Hanzee wants to get a look at that diner. And we did mention this in the hot dish, but the diner just seems to be just this playground, apparently, where
anyone can walk in and out of a crime scene.
It's nobody's cleaning this crime scene up, and nobody's even gonna designate it as a crime scene. There's just a bloodbath in there.
Well, there was something out front.
Oh, was there?
A little bit, but it's just like he opens the door, the little bell rings. I'm like, somebody doesn't have a set of fucking keys for this joint to be like, yeah, there's a whole murder scene in here that evidently we're not going to clean up, but just leave the door open. Maybe some kids will wander in and be scarred for life. That was the only thing I had that thing with, was like, how are people coming and going? I mean, I know some of it was him having a flashback, and I don't know if those were his flashbacks or ours, but that was the thing. I was kind of led to believe that they're his, like, he can look at this thing and he sees it.
You are correct. There's a police barricade out front.
So, and we already covered the 7:07 to 9:07 gap in time. I don't know.
If you didn't listen to the hot dish, check it out. Yeah. There's a 2-hour loss in time.
I don't know. Maybe the aliens are giving him his hot tips. It's like Black Mirror. They're just playing the replays for him. Oh, I get it.
I've been here
I also
before.
thought he found that little. Okay, I'm ruining what's a really great episode by thinking about these things, but like that road would be driven on so many times. Like talking about being from here, our perspective, that snow would be so flipping dirty, and if it was fresh snow over the dirty snow, that glass would have been. I mean, haven't you ever dropped something simple out in the snow out here? It's not like you're going to walk to the road, look at the tire tread marks, and go, hey, look, I found something clear in a bunch of white powder. So I don't know, man. That was a little too magical for me.
Well, Hanzee's a magical element in this whole thing.
He is, I guess. And then he manages to track it down to a body shop and fit it on like Cinderella's slipper.
Yeah. Gets down on one knee. Oh, it's a perfect fit.
Some of my favorite lines were definitely in this section.
This was a fantastic scene. So Hanzee goes back to the crime scene. He finds a piece of glass. He goes to a body shop.
After he has a little chat with the aliens for 2 hours.
Yeah. After he has a little alien probe action going on.
Yeah, and not the kind of probe Mike Milligan got.
I mean, there couldn't have been a lot of body shops in the area, so he probably went
in Laverne?
to the one.
No, I mean, obviously there's only two, but two. I'm just kidding. There's only one. Laverne can't have
and
more.
And he probably honestly went to just go ask him, like, hey, what do you think this piece of glass is from? But it just the car just happened to be sitting there.
No.
Yeah.
I'm guaranteed Hanzee doesn't ask questions.
You can't picture him
with
going
the
to a body
exception
shop
of,
like,
is he known to you?
What's up, buddies? Where do you suppose this came from?
Yeah. It's not like he's going to walk in there and go, say, if I had a piece of glass. That's not how Hanzee rolls, man. That guy chokes rabbits.
So in this body shop, we run into the fantastic characters, Carl Weathers and Sonny.
Otherwise known as Donnie.
And Walter.
And Walter.
And you mentioned you read in the New York Times in an interview with Noah Hawley that he did admit that was like a complete translation.
Yeah, he said it was a thing.
Cool. Yeah, because obviously Carl is the conspiracy theorist, gun-toting. Carl and Walter both carry concealed weapons. Walter being the character from The Big Lebowski, John Goodman's character. And Donnie in The Big Lebowski would be Steve Buscemi's character, who is represented in this season by Sonny, who just seems to kind of be an idiot every time he opens his mouth.
Yeah. Like, nihilists, dude. Shut the fuck up, Donnie. Those lines were so fantastic in this section, though. Just even from the opening about needing the plunger. Because he's just dropping a deuce.
Well, that kind of interrupts the scene as Sonny's talking about, Sonny's starting to feel threatened a little bit, and he's clearly trembling in his voice, and he tries to prove that he's a tough guy by saying he was in Vietnam. People called him Mad Dog.
Mad Dog.
Meanwhile, his voice is quivering the entire time, and Hanzee has a follow-up to say, like, hey, oh yeah, I was in Nam too. Were you ever in the tunnels wherever you're
Yeah.
forced to be a tunnel rat. Send you down because you're the Indian. Send you down in the Coochie tunnels, probably into the Black Echo.
And he talks about, I was just like, God, you got to collect an ears and cut their, and you got to push their face into the dirt so that people won't hear them yell. Oof.
Yeah, so Hanzee's been in this shit quite a bit more than Mad Dog Sonny.
Oh, by far. But Carl's at when he's packing heat. Hanzee's just got himself a straight edge razor blade. Razor, not straight edge razor blade, straight edge razor, like from a barber shop.
Yeah.
No match for Carl's heat. But did you notice he was just like completely unfazed by it? He was like, I've already got what I need.
Mm-hmm.
So this conversation we're having is kind of lame. And he's just like folds it up and leaves.
Now he has what he has is the name of the owner of that car, Ed.
Yep.
Thanks to Sonny. Oh, Ed, yeah, he's the butcher. I mean, nope, I don't know him. Never seen him in my life. He goes from saying, "Oh yeah, Ed the butcher," to "No, I've never seen him in my life." Fucking Sonny, man.
And then he gets over to their house, and so he finds the belt buckle.
That's right.
See, he just finds everything. Finds the glass.
Of course. Why wouldn't you start digging around in somebody's fireplace?
Finds the blood on the seat.
Yep. Maybe he can smell that shit.
He's doing it.
Got a nose.
But
so do you think? So now when he's in the Blomquist home, so the arc we're talking about here is Hanzee on the hunt. We're now that we're in the Blomquist home, he's smelling bleach on the floor. He's smelling the bleach on his fingers. He knows that there's been some major cleanup going on. He knows that the piece of glass is from their car. He sees blood on the seat. He finds Rye's belt buckle, and it's clearly Rye's because it's got a big German eagle on it. Now that he's in the house, right before Lou comes to the door, do you think Hanzee's still in the house that whole time while Lou is giving this speech about how the Blomquist just ran over Rye and he knows it? Or is Hanzee just standing in the corner?
It was very reminiscent for me about of the scenes where Lauren Melvo was in the house. And you're like, where the hell did he come from? And how did that happen? At the very beginning of Fargo season 1.
Sure. Or No Country for Old Men.
Yes. So I don't know. I have no answer to that because I just honestly don't know. I like what it does to the scene because you don't know, but I don't know. At the same time, Hanzee's cool enough that he could be like, I already know what I need to know, so I'm going to just get the hell out of here because I don't want to talk to the law.
This could be like the scene, returning to the scene of the crime from No Country for Old Men, where in No Country for Old Men, Sheriff Ed comes back to the hotel room with the lock busted out, like we saw in the carriage typewriter store.
Yeah.
With the lock, but he returns to the scene of the crime where Rye was technically killed.
Yes.
And Hanzee's hanging out in the shadows.
Yeah, and for all we know, Hanzee's, oh man, now I'm thinking about it again. The way he disappeared from the front door.
Mm-hmm.
So great.
That's what that is.
So I don't know, and then so Hanzee's hot on something. I'm just curious, what do you think Hanzee's gonna do when he gets to the bottom of this? I mean, is he gonna do something, or is he just gonna go back and go like, "Yep, it was the stupid butcher guy and his wife"?
It's a good question because he's not a man of many words, although we did see him speak the most in this episode so far, with that little Vietnam montage. But it's tough to say because I don't think he'll just slash their throats. That wouldn't be entertaining.
No, I think he takes orders.
So you think he'll take them back to the compound?
I don't know. That's what I mean.
One.
I don't know what he'll do. I don't get the vibe that he does whatever he wants. They're sending him on jobs, like so he
might just be going back and being like, "Yep, I found Rye. He's dead."
I think it's more than that. I think we may find out more. I'm still going to be stuck on trying to watch if anything about that half breed comes up.
Yeah, I mean, I think those pieces are certainly starting to fit together nicely between the half-breed comment and the Indian chief pictures in the Gerhardt home.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, there's some connections there. He's treated like blood for the most part, outside of the half-breed comment, but...
Right. I don't know. I think everything's really primed right now.
Well, we'll be at midway through the season on the next episode, so that will be... I mean, we're getting towards the peak here. It's about to go down.
Yes. Mama Gerhardt ends with, let's go to war. It's war. She's pissed. Do you want to talk? I mean, I don't think we have to talk a ton, but Lou's back to his ways of sitting outside, tying knots.
Yep.
He's doing his thing, but I think everything's primed really well. I think the characters are all placed really well to let some serious things unload, and I think they're going to happen really fast. Let me rephrase. I hope they happen really fast.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know who, but I feel like we're going to part with somebody. We're going to part with somebody we like, and we've been talking about every week.
That was interesting about Lou sitting outside.
Well, we haven't even seen Adam Arkin again.
That's true. My dad and Lou seem to be very similar because Lou, well, both being on swift boats in Vietnam, my dad also would just go sit outside on the step for
really
like a couple hours, and I'd be like, "What is he doing out there? It's like 5 degrees outside."
He's contemplating. He's got a lot. I think that's the thing too, though, is that Lou's just got a lot of shit going on. But
yep,
the Sioux Falls massacre. When are the bodies going to get stacked high?
A lot of people are going to end up in Sioux Falls, and a lot of people are not going to end up leaving Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
Unless it's in a bag.
So, I think that's about it.
Yep.
So, anybody has any other bright ideas and wants to talk to us? We didn't even talk about the whole Kierkegaard fear and trembling. We don't need to do it. You know what? They love literary references and parables, and they're all fantastic. Sometimes, yeah, we can't cover everything.
We can end it with this quote about Fear and Trembling and Kierkegaard from Wikipedia. And this is not from Fear and Trembling, but it was published the same day by the same author, and it goes like this. When one person sees one thing and another sees something else in the same thing, then the one discovers what the other conceals. I thought that was a pretty interesting sentence. It seemed to tie in well with the episode.
We also have to thank one last sponsor before we go.
Let's do it.
Please go to your nearest web browser, and I would love for you to type in fargobrewing.com and go there and check them out and click on the wood chipper and read about that beer because it's delicious and you should do that. Actually, the best part about this is I was out in Rapid City, South Dakota, which is actually closer to Wyoming, in Deadwood. The Fargo Brewing guys were just out there talking to the Independent about maybe putting some beers on tap or getting some beer into their place. So,
oh, really? Did you?
Yeah.
You found that out?
Yep.
Interesting.
Maybe I'm not supposed to know that. Either way, Fargo Brewing has sponsored this show. And right now, the best thing you can do is if you're local to our area, and while you're on their website, is to look at where you can pick it up and do it. Go out and buy it and do that. That's the best way you're going to help them. Other than that, just give them web traffic so they know we're working hard.
And if you happen to be in the Sioux Falls area, you can go check out Fargo Brewing at the Sioux Falls Craft Beer Expo this week.
Oh, when's that? That's this week?
November 7th.
Oh, well, hot dang.
What's that, Saturday?
No. Oh, God, Charpie, I don't even know what day it is, dude. I've been up since... So I was on Mountain Time with you. I've been up since like 4:30. Been crazy.
Yeah. It is Saturday.
Yeah, and it's late. It's really late. Honestly, I don't know if I'll get this edited tonight, folks. So once again, apologize for the delay, but my flights didn't happen the way they were supposed to. So
lucky for you, this show is free.
Yes. Yes. So I don't know. I'm really excited for next week, man. I really appreciate the Yeah, you'll have to let us know how you liked our little change it up. So it's the chunked out Gerhardts versus Kansas City, Betsy versus Cancer, Ed versus Peg, and then we also had the section of Hanzee on the hunt. So, and then we also mentioned that we got to see some butt cracks. Yep. Just want to make sure we keep it on that we make some humor happen.
3 cracks.
Ooh, also shout out to Bon Iver, local guy, getting somewhat local, regional guy.
Mm-hmm. He's from the United States. Well, he's from Earth.
He's from Wisconsin, though.
That's close.
Yeah. All right, Charpie. Until next week, man. I'm really excited, and we'll be on a better schedule, and we'll have a guest lined up for next week as well, because we'll all be in one place this time.
And yeah, if you want to follow us on Twitter at Fargo Talks Fargo. You can follow me at Charpie, CHARPIE, or Bill at Lempe, LEMPE.
Boom.
And if you need a website or any graphic design work, you should hit me up.
Yeah, do that.
Shameless plug.
That's okay. It's our show. All right, Charpie, we'll talk to you later.
All right, later, buddy.